Tonight on Chat News at 5, cleanup underway. This storm is almost over and sanders have been on the streets since early this morning. And oil exit.
I just don't know that municipal government is capable of taking on the type of risk that we've seen lately.
The city of Medicine Hat has sold off the majority of its remaining oil assets.
Plus in sports, pre-tournament play begins at the 2021 World Juniors in Edmonton.
From Medicine Hat, this is the Chat Evening News with Dan Reynish.
All right, that's how it looked late this afternoon in Medicine Hat before the sun went down. Only scattered flurries continue to fall at this hour as Medicine Hat and southern Alberta no longer have a winter storm warning in place. Any lingering snow will come to an end this evening as the last of the system pushes east. There is still poor visibility due to blowing snow right now. Strong northerly winds with gusts up to 80 kilometers an hour will blow into tonight before the winds become light. Good evening. Thank you for watching. As we come to air, emergency services are on the scene of a rollover motor vehicle collision on the Trans-Canada Highway just west of the Box Springs overpass. Traffic is down to one lane right now, and police are asking motorists to avoid the area if possible. While visibility was low at times prior to that incident, the roads and highways in and out of Medicine Hat remained open today during the storm. At this hour, city crews are out there continuing to keep the roads and sidewalks clear. Sanders have been on the streets since early this morning, and that will continue tonight and again tomorrow as needed. Municipal Works Manager Jeremy Patrician says city roads will be in good shape once again as we push into the holidays and Christmas Eve on Thursday.
This is a minor event compared to the one we saw there in November. We're only going to see accumulations of, probably 5 to 10 centimeters, where that was 30. So there's a big difference in what we're going to see there. Plus, we're going to see some warm temperatures, I think, for Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday, Friday, actually. And so that'll help a little bit with getting those roads bare and dry.
Jeremy's right, the weather will be clear for the next few days with some light snow in the forecast for Boxing Day on Saturday. The Christmas season got a little bit brighter today for single Albertans. The provincial government is making temporary changes to the public health restrictions. Those living alone will now be able to enjoy the holidays with a limited number of friends or loved ones. Premier Jason Kenney says between tomorrow and Monday, December 28th, single Albertans can attend one event at another home. Households will be able to host a maximum of 2 single people, but Kenney says based on the large jump in cases over Thanksgiving, the ban on large gatherings is still in effect.
If we were to gather in typical large extended family gatherings over the Christmas holidays, beginning with 800 people in hospital, there is absolutely no doubt that we would lose all of the progress that we have made in recent weeks, that we would be back into exponential growth. And it wouldn't take very much for those 800 cases in hospital to turn into 1,600 and for the 1,600 to turn into 3,200. And at that point, we would be completely overwhelming our healthcare system.
At the same media event, Health Minister Tyler Shandro announced just over 3,000 healthcare workers in Alberta have received their first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Another 25,000 doses have arrived in the province, and Medicine Hat is expected to receive 975 of those. The focus continues to be on vaccinating critical healthcare and long-term care employees first. Shandro also announced the provincial government is making changes around the rules for massage therapy.
We know the importance of massage therapy for recovery from acute pain and chronic pain, and our health professions and individual Albertans have raised concerns that the current restrictions have stopped patients here in Alberta from accessing this care. Now, we've listened to those concerns, and we've worked with Dr. Hinshaw to grant an exemption.
The exemption applies to patients with a prescription or referral. Across our province, 1,021 cases of COVID-19 were reported in the last 24 hours. Unfortunately, 11 more Albertans have died. Daily case counts have started to drop. Chief Medical Health Officer Dr. Dina Hinshaw says an important part of Alberta's overall response to COVID-19 is the work of contact tracers.
Alberta Health Services continues to bolster the number of contact tracers helping to protect Albertans. They now have about 1,200 contact tracers and are on track to have close to 1,600 by the end of the year. The contact tracing team will continue to work day and night throughout the holidays.
In Medicine Hat, there are 2 new cases today, and we currently have 70 active cases of COVID-19 in our city. Well, the numbers are still rolling in because of the drifts and the blowing snow. Medicine Hat, by the time all is said and done, between 5 and 10 centimeters of snow today. By comparison, Kananaskis had 70 centimeters. Calgary will have up to 40 centimeters in some parts. Brooks got about 15, and right now it's just blowing snow and scattered flurries, -4 degrees, and the wind from the north-northwest at about 30 kilometers an hour. The wind continues, the temperatures will warm up, and tomorrow is a whole new day. And as Annie said, the sun will come out tomorrow. The full AccuWeather forecast as we once again enjoy this view of St. Patrick's Church on a snowy, windy day in Medicine Hat. Straight ahead, a Medicine Hat business is spreading the warmth with the women's shelter. The city of Medicine Hat has now sold off the majority of its remaining oil assets. Last night at council, the sale of a field the city has owned for more than 30 years was announced. Alex McQuaig has the details.
Council voted Monday night to unload 85% of its remaining oil interests as the Glock C field northeast of the city will now be sold. Mayor Ted Cluxton says the city's divestment from the oil and gas sector shouldn't be a surprise.
The risk tolerance I just don't know that municipal government is capable of taking on the type of risk that we've seen lately. And of course, you've seen what's happened. COVID was unforeseen, but what else lays on the horizon that could possibly take us out?
The chair of the city's Energy and Utilities Commission says the time was right to get out of the play, which is largely owned and operated by Enerplus.
The writing's on the wall. That's an old field. Yes, it'll still be producing. And if we were financially stable and wanted to pump in a whole lot of money into drilling wells and upgrading it, well, we might be able to save that, but the risk is just too great.
Details of the deal were not disclosed. Turnbull would only say it involves financial compensation and avoids well cleanup costs for the city.
It's $20 million in cash and savings on liabilities in the future, but it is substantially more cash than savings.
As far as the remaining city oil and gas assets, the mayor says there will be only 2 substantial ones left by the end of 2021.
By the end of next year, we'll really mostly have the northeast field for gas and many berries.
The city is currently suing the federal government over an emergency protection order affecting its oil wells in Manyberries. Alex McQuaig, Chat News.
The Lethbridge Police Service has concluded its investigation into the potential mismanagement of funds by Arch's supervised consumption site. Police began investigating after an independent audit revealed more than $1.6 million in provincial funds were unaccounted for. The missing funds led the government to pull all its funding for the SCS, eventually causing it to shut down. Police say during the course of the investigation, officers were able to account for all the missing funds. No criminal charges were recommended because there wasn't a likelihood of a reasonable conviction, and prosecution would not be in the public interest. It's been a year of adapting for the Medicine Hat Public Library, seeing their doors closed twice since March. The library has had to change the way they offered services to our community. In-person service at the library closed for a number of months. However, a new curbside pickup service was implemented to keep books available. Since March's first shutdown, over 3,000 pickups have been completed. The library will need to continue adapting in the new year, with the city cutting their budget by 5%. But Chief Librarian Ken Fazer feels they're better prepared than ever to tackle the challenges.
It was very sad to go back to a closure, but at least we had a model for service that we pulled out. We did the same remote no-touch curbside pickup that we had done before, and the electronic services, the virtual programming and everything. And we knew what people wanted and what was popular, so it was a bit easier this time going back to it.
Fazer is excited for 2021 as grant funding will provide some sponsored membership cards and put a social worker in the library. The Ronald McDonald House in Medicine Hat has served over 20 families since they opened on August 4th. The house works to help make families feel at home and comfortable while their child is in hospital care. General Manager Cassie Hinder says businesses and organizations have contributed to toy drives for their Santa Sacks program. That's when families are able to choose gifts for the children and themselves when they're able to leave the house. Hyder says most of their families who stay in the city are from Brooks and surrounding area, as well as some from Swift Current and Maple Creek.
So we do a lot of NICU babies here. We also do a lot of youth mental health that we have been supporting a lot in the last couple months. We do laboring moms. So if mom comes to Medicine Hat thinking she's going to have a baby, but they can't admit her, she can come and stay with us until she's ready. And we still have our day use program that's up and running.
The Ronald McDonald House will be open 24 hours a day throughout the holidays. Hyder hopes to have an official grand opening when it's safe to do so. With up to 1,300 people using the Medicine Hat Women's Shelter this year for support, Executive Director Natasha Carvalho says there was extra stress for their families this year. Carvalho says the shelter was very quiet at the start of the pandemic and it was impacting people as they were staying in unsafe situations and were not able to leave.
We heard from a lot of families and a lot of women that they were trapped in unsafe situations with their abuser who maybe had been laid off from work. And, and then the kids were at home too, so all their normal reasons for being able to leave were not there anymore. And so we were worried about our families and made sure that we contacted them and tried to keep in touch with them via phone or text or whatever they could. When phase 1 opened up on May 15th, we saw a surge and all our doors just flooded with people. So there was obviously people who were in need.
The women's shelter accepted a donation of brand new winter coats from Budget Blinds yesterday. This was the second year for Budget Blinds' Spread the Warmth campaign. Don Cameron says they collected 275 pieces of warm winter clothing, everything from ski jackets, boots, and mitts. And they also presented the women's shelter with a check for over $900, $985 to be exact.
We just wanted to give back to the kids, and it is an organization that sometimes they come without the necessities, and nobody should be not outside enjoying the great community that we have.
Natasha Carvalho says a lot of their families leave their situations in a hurry and don't have the chance to grab everything they need, so the coats are an important donation. Time for our first break here on Chat News at 5. There's much more to come. The full AccuWeather forecast for a lovely day tomorrow. And we'll also have this story for you when we come back. Medicine Hat Police Chief Andy McGrogan is retiring in the new year. Coming up, the second of a 3-part interview looking back on his 40-year career. Dr. Teresa Tam says after analyzing 25,000 tests in Canada, the variant of the COVID-19 virus found in the UK has not yet been discovered in Canada. The federal government is partnering with provinces to continue that work, but some researchers say this pandemic has exposed the need for more surveillance. There's also a focus on keeping that variant strain out of the country. The premiers of the 2 largest provinces, which also have the largest outbreaks in the country, Quebec and Ontario, say the federal government needs to do more. Public Safety Minister Bill Blair says the measures at the borders are rigorous and effective. More details on the balancing act between personal freedoms and public health coming up in about 15 minutes here on Chat News at 5. After serving Medicine Hat for more than 40 years with our city's police service, Chief Andy McGrogan is winding down as he heads into retirement in the new year. Chantal Wagner recently sat down and spoke with the chief about his notable policing career and his memories along the way. Tonight, in part 2 of their 3-part conversation, the chief talks about his involvement in our community and challenges he's faced during his career.
Hearing your stories, was there maybe another challenge you've had to overcome in your over 40-year career?
Challenge. Can you be more specific?
Maybe growth, kind of maybe learning on the job, as you learn as you go.
So you do every day.
Yeah.
So different stages in your career, right? Like the cool thing about my 40 years here is I've had about 4 or 5 careers through my time. And so there's always different growth stages. I mean, you start out, I think every constable when they start out, traffic's the easiest thing. So, it's ticket writing, and then you get into some investigations, and then you'll get a niche and do something particularly well. So it's always a progression thing. And there's no standing still in policing. And if you do, then you're just going to be, you're going to be bored. I always say that, coppers, they can't stand change, but they thrive on it. And, because it's constant change. I think police officers, as the law changes, as society changes, as everything changes. So how do we change with it? So a specific growth moment, I can't really say. I mean, there was times when I started taking my education and that kind of thing, just, just looking at the future and what I wanted to do in policing. So at one point I decided to go and get my master's, and that was like, I always say, had a very busy job here. I had a family that was young, and I was taking this education. It was like being in a snowstorm that just never seemed to end. But, it's not unique to me. I mean, there's lots of people that do that as well. So I think the big thing is just continue to learn. I mean, I just took 2 years ago, I took an executive coaching course. I wanted to, change my leadership voice here and do more coaching than directive kind of way. So it's just a constant learning. And, that's probably what's kept me, enjoying this so much.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Well, along with your learning, you're also heavily involved in the community on many boards.
Yeah.
One being the Women's Shelter. You chaired that one.
Yeah.
Just why was it important to you to, get yourself in the community here in Medicine Hat?
Well, and again, that happens just because you want to be involved, and that opportunity came up. They were looking for a senior police officer. So I went on the board, but what a great experience. And I met so many terrific people, and I think that board experience probably really helped me kind of understand the importance of working together. I mean, I remember when the women's shelter opened, and I was a constable on the street, and they didn't like us, and we didn't think we liked them. And and now here we are. We've evolved into this community partnership that work together so closely. So it's watching that evolution take place, and then when you're on the board, you have an opportunity to be part of the next step. And if you remember, we brought SFIT in, which is our domestic violence team, where we integrated a women's shelter staff with a police officer and started working on domestic files. And we did that to try and get out in front of some of these tragedies that were happening. And I guess because I had access to Natasha, we worked so closely together, and yeah, we formed that partnership, and it's continued. So it's been a really, and that's an example, I think, of all the different partnerships that you get involved in the community, and then also partnerships with other police services, and our Association of Chiefs of Police has been such a rewarding time. So it's all about all those connections in the community, and I think as you grow, you realize that it's so important that we're engaged with everybody out there. And there's times when I think I'm criticized, or leadership is, for spending too much time externally and not enough time internally, and that's a feedback I've gotten. But it's so critical that we stay engaged with our community, even the news outlets, everything. Like the whole relationship is really so important. And if we're going to be an effective police service, we're not going to do it on our own. I think we started learning that back in the 90s, and we've been growing on that ever since.
Okay, well, actually, that was kind of my next question. How has policing changed since the 1980s when you first started?
Well, there was no Constitution when I started. I'm probably one of the last of the pre-constitutional coppers. The Constitution came in 1982. So it's changed a great deal. But what hasn't changed is how you talk to other human beings. So that's, but I will tell you, the investigational rigor that is expected of our officers now, the professionalism, we dealt with human tragedy, but this meth situation out there is completely tragic, and our guys are seeing this complete negativity, on an ongoing basis. So in the old days, it was the stuff that, you go to a bar fight and you knew what you were getting. But now with the new, drugs and stuff, it's such a complicated world. So I really feel for our folks that are out there on the front lines now. It's going to be so fatiguing for them. So my heart really goes out to them that have years left, and and again, it's so important that they find ways to grow and develop and move around in their career. And it's such a you can't just first respond your whole career and stay sane, in my view. So it's changed so much. But dealing with people, respect and dignity for all, treating people like human beings. I still get feedback about when I was a constable. I mean, I forget when I was a constable, but I still get feedback from people. But I remember a time when, some so-and-so, you come up to me and you treated me nice. And, so we make a difference. Every interaction is a huge opportunity. And sometimes even as police officers, we forget how important our role is in our community. And an act of kindness will sometimes never be forgotten. How you treat someone at a traffic stop is never forgotten. So we have this huge opportunity to make a difference in a positive way or a negative way. And I have to say that most of our people are just so good at, really going out there and being positive and, trying to make a difference and treating people with respect and dignity. You don't know how many calls that I get from people saying, I can't believe how well I was treated today. I didn't like what happened, but you know what? So I think that's been nice to see, and it's tough to do in the long haul. It really is.
Thank you, Chief McGrogan. Thank you, Chantal Wagner. Tomorrow night, in part 3 of their conversation, we'll hear how our city and policing has changed over 40 years and how the chief is feeling about retirement. That's tomorrow night in part 3.
Chat Weather, brought to you by Design Flooring Center, with you every step of the way.
Chat Weather, powered by AccuWeather.
It was not a great day in Medicine Hat, but we knew it was coming. At this hour, the Trans-Canada is now open again. Police are asking motorists to use caution when on the roads, and that is great advice after a day that saw between 5 and 10 centimeters of snow fall in Medicine Hat. Hard to get a concrete measurement because of all the snowdrifts and everything that is out there, but we did not get the 70 centimeters that fell in Kananaskis, and we will not. Scattered flurries moving into this evening, but it's still going to be windy today. We got to a high of -2 degrees, so still, yes, at -2 with a storm, we're warmer than we usually are at this time of year. -4, still the case out there. The wind gusting from the northwest up to 60 kilometers an hour. That's what it's going at right now. It got up as high as 80 kilometers an hour today. It'll blow down to about 50 kilometers an hour tonight, and then the winds will sustain tomorrow. The sun is back, and as you'll see, 5 beautiful degrees coming our way. The wind already started to die down there, now only at 48, but sustained from the north at about 35. -7 in Calgary and Edmonton under a fairly clear sky. In Drumheller, it's -8 and fairly clear. -5 and cloudy. Lethbridge and Bow Island, where the storm also blown through. Now, in Saskatchewan, Maple Creek no longer has the winter storm warning in effect. Regina still does, so the system still working its way through southern Saskatchewan into Manitoba. -11 and cloudy in Saskatoon and Swift Current. -7 and cloudy in both Maple Creek and Leader. Maple Creek still seeing some snow, and in Regina, snowing and -9. Clouds, we had them today. This is what we're looking at this afternoon. You see some snow pushing in, pushing around, pushing out, and then G-O-N-E, gone. And as we go to the futurecast, that low pressure system, gone, gone, gone. I feel like I'm singing Chilliwack lyrics here. High pressure dominating us with lots of sunshine to come, and temperatures tomorrow warming up again. So lovely days are coming before Christmas. And for those wishing, wanting, hoping, and looking forward to a white Christmas, there we go. Not just a song you'll be singing with your friends and the loved ones that you're allowed to get together with. Clear tomorrow morning, then a partly sunny day, but in Brooks, -21 degrees to start things off with the wind chill. It's going to feel like -25. Now, this would have been better to have yesterday. Yesterday is Rush Day, the 12th month and the 21st day, but yes, we get 21-12 today. So to Rush fans, a day late, but still one of the greatest bands ever. In Leader, still very chilly tomorrow, -12, not going to warm up that much throughout the day. Going to feel like Minus 15, minus 20 in the morning and throughout the day. Still cold. Maple Creek warming up to minus 5. And then here in Medicine Hat, we're going to be nice tomorrow. And as we go to this picture, Dennis, the man that he is, was out riding his bike today along the South Saskatchewan River and sent in some pictures and a video. Here's the picture that we chose to use for you. There's the flock of geese grouped along the bank waiting for better weather, as many were today. Dennis, thank you. Weather pics at chatnewstoday.ca is where you can send your pictures. Thanks, Dennis. We're back with more news, and Scott Roblin has sports to come tonight, still here on Chat News at 5. Still to come, there are concerns regarding Canada's ability to track and limit the arrival of a new variant of COVID-19. Good evening, this is Chat News at 5. I'm Dan Reynish. Canada's top doctor says a rapid spreading variant of the novel coronavirus found in the UK has not yet been discovered in Canadian test samples. The federal government is working with the provinces to monitor it, but as Michael Couture explains, there are concerns about our ability to track and limit its arrival in this country.
Is there a probability that this could enter in Canada? Yes.
Canada's top doctor believes the new variant of COVID-19 spreading fast in the United Kingdom is already in other countries. Dr. Teresa Tam says after analyzing 25,000 tests in Canada, that coronavirus mutation hasn't been found here yet. But the search continues.
We are going to be targeting enhanced sequencing efforts to the sort of high probability samples, like from travelers. So that's, obviously moving forwards, that's part of the strategy as well.
The federal government is partnering with provinces to continue that work, but some researchers say this pandemic has exposed the need for more surveillance and genomic sequencing capacity.
This is infrastructure, it is people with the expertise to do the data analysis, and it's about sustainability. So this is not something that, that we can, sink some money in and then walk away from.
There's also a focus on keeping that variant strain out of the country. The premiers of the two largest provinces, which also have the largest outbreaks in the country, say the federal government needs to do more.
The government has been calling on the feds for months for testing at airports, for further tightening of the borders. This is bare minimum we can expect.
We both worry about quarantine. We want to make sure that it's done properly, that we make sure that we have people doing the follow-up.
Public Safety Minister Bill Blair says the measures at the borders are rigorous and effective, pointing out just 1.8% of COVID-19 cases are linked to travel.
The characterization that unfortunately some have made does not reflect the accuracy and the facts of what is taking place at our borders.
And epidemiologists say it's a balancing act between personal freedoms and public health.
If the citizens are willing to tolerate more extreme draconian measures, we probably do that to drive the caseload closer to zero. But it seems to me we're probably doing all that is possible.
Including when it comes to vaccines. Health Canada now has all the data it needed from Moderna. And Health Minister Patty Hajdu said a decision on approval should be coming very soon.
After most European Union nations moved to isolate Britain because of the new strain, there's word tonight the French-UK border is about to reopen. The two governments are finalizing a deal that would allow EU nationals to travel subject to a negative COVID test. Krista Gomansing has the latest.
Once a landing strip, now a giant parking pad. The British government planned to use the old Manston airport for Brexit-related shipping issues, but this is a COVID-19 problem.
We don't know why we have to be in that situation.
Sunday night, France shut its borders with Britain over fears of a new strain of COVID-19. The move stranded drivers who for months have been hauling goods between the UK and France. The Road Haulage Association says drivers are being treated inhumanely. The European Commission is calling on all EU nations to reopen borders. I've been stopped for 3 days, he says. We're asking for a solution, something that they can tell us that will help us. Testing of all drivers could get goods flowing again, but that will take time. It's estimated more than 2,000 truckers are lined up on highways, parked at service stations and rest stops. Drivers say at this point, they won't get home for Christmas.
It's done. It's finished. From here to go home, we have about almost 2,000 miles.
Shoppers could be hit as well. Two of Britain's largest supermarket chains, Tesco and Sainsbury's, says delayed deliveries could lead to some items not being available. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tried to ease fears over possible shortages Monday, saying only goods handled by people were being held up at the port of Dover.
That is only 20% of the total arriving from or departing to the European continent, which means the vast majority of food, medicines and other supplies are coming and going as normal.
With another day of work lost, a crowd gathered near the port of Dover. They booed and yelled into the night, sidelined by a virus they can't control. Crystal Gamansing, Global News, London.
Health Canada is poised to greenlight Moderna's vaccine after receiving the final study data today. The federal government has ordered a total of 40 million doses, enough to vaccinate 2/3 of the Canadian adult population. Once approved, as many as 168,000 vials could be distributed by the end of this month. The Moderna vaccine is easier to store and transport than the already approved Pfizer vaccine. It'll be deployed to remote northern and Indigenous communities as well as long-term care homes. America's top doctor received Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine today.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Anthony Fauci gave it 2 thumbs up and urged others to roll up their sleeves as well. More than 18 million people have now been infected with COVID-19 in America, and more than 327,000 people have died. But tonight, U.S. President Donald Trump is focused on the election he lost, as even senior Republicans are telling him it's over. Jaskin Prosko has more from Washington.
There's no question Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States.
It's time to unite, to heal, to rebuild.
That hasn't stopped President Donald Trump from fighting to overturn the election he lost, relying on wild conspiracy theories and outlandish suggestions from his few remaining loyalists.
He could take military capabilities and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election.
In recent days, Trump has met repeatedly with conspiracy theory touting lawyer Sidney Powell and gathered a group of sympathetic Republican lawmakers.
We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats.
To plot out ways to ignore the will of voters and disrupt the transfer of power.
Biden won handily. It's not even close. And yet Republicans are following the sore loser lead of Donald Trump. And that's dangerous in and of itself.
Trump's last chance to upend the process comes January 6th, when Congress meets to count the Electoral College votes.
Donald Trump of New York.
As vice president, Joe Biden presided over the count that certified Donald Trump's 2016 victory. He even shut down the objections of some fellow Democrats.
It is over.
This time around, Mike Pence will preside over the count acknowledging Biden's victory, where Republicans have made it clear they will raise objections and delay or disrupt the process.
These individuals who are pro-Trump and in Congress can delay the inevitable by a day or two, and that's it.
Republican leaders in the Senate have already acknowledged Biden's victory and cautioned their colleagues about forcing a messy public showdown, one that would pit Trump loyalists against Republicans who are in fact ready to acknowledge reality. That hasn't eased fears about what else Trump might try to do between now and Biden's inauguration. At the very least, his efforts have worked to sow doubt about the legitimacy of Biden's win, which will make life much more difficult for the incoming president.
Sports is up next here on Chat News at 5 with Scott Roblin.
It was the shortest offseason in North American pro sports history. After just over 2 months off, the NBA is back tonight. More on the way in sports. Welcome back. We're entering the home stretch ahead of the World Juniors in Edmonton. Pre-tournament games finally begin today, while Team Canada has wrapped their isolation periods and are preparing for Boxing Day. Part of that preparation will include one exhibition game against Team Russia tomorrow afternoon. Safe to say it's a highly anticipated game for the Canadians, even if it's just a tune-up. That's because for many of the junior players, they haven't suited up in a competitive game since mid-March.
I can tell you right now, our guys are chomping at the bit to get on the ice and be competitive against an opponent that's other than their teammates.
And we've been practicing a ton, and besides a few inter-squad games there in Red Deer, I know there hasn't been a lot of games for a lot of guys. So I think to finally, put on that Hockey Canada jersey and get out there as a group and our first real game together, I think everyone's really excited.
It won't feel real till we get out there and see the other team's jerseys. So I'm excited. I know everyone else in our room is excited, and I'm sure everyone watching will be excited. So I can't wait for it to happen.
The first two pre-tournament games today, Team Switzerland taking on Team Austria, currently in the second intermission with Switzerland holding a 2-1 lead. And a bit later tonight at Rogers Place, Team USA opens their exhibition tournament play against Team Finland. The Medicine Hat Tigers are calling the WHL's decision to move the 2021 draft to next December a good move for both teams and prospects. With limited ice time for prospects so far this fall and winter, the league elected to delay the draft by 7 months. Tigers Director of Player Personnel Bobby Fox says while the wait will be tough for some prospects, it will showcase those who are able to battle through adversity.
There's going to be some guys that get complacent. I'm looking for the guys that, how do they come through all this? Where do they land on the other side of all this? And how do they use adversity? How were they able to train and motivate themselves and basically take charge of their own careers here? It's going to be a lot on them, and I think a lot of guys are going to thrive.
Fox says October's WHL Cup tournament will likely be more heavily scouted in 2021, serving as a preview of the incoming draft class. About 3 weeks from now, we'll be settling in for puck drop on the 2021 NHL season. Teams that did not enter the bubble are permitted to begin training camps on New Year's Eve. For the rest, like the Calgary Flames, they will begin on January 3rd. Players have been working out and training for weeks, mostly in limited groups or on their own. Head coach Jeff Ward is more than excited too. With the interim tag removed from his title, January 13th can't come soon enough.
We're just excited about it. I mean, between the two pauses, to be honest with you, it's been an awful lot of time on the sidelines just kind of hoping that we were going to get this season going. And we've done an awful lot of preparation. We've had more than enough time to be prepared and do everything that we need to do to get ready for the season. So now that we know that it's going to happen and when it's going to happen, we're excited to move forward here. And, we finally have something that we can work with. So it's great.
Of course, many in our province are excited about the 10 Battle of Alberta tilts between the Flames and Oilers. And as Quinn Phillips reports, executives like Ken Holland feel the same.
Oilers training camp will formally kick off in just under 2 weeks, Sunday, January 3rd. General Manager Ken Holland is hopeful to have 36 skaters and 5 goalies.
Coach Tippett wants to have, as we get into camp, he wants to have some games. With no preseason games, he wants to have some games. Between injuries and with a lot of people traveling here over the Christmas season coming into Edmonton, hopefully we'll have good luck and nobody comes up with COVID, but, you got to be prepared.
One player we know won't be here, defenseman Oscar Klefbom, is officially out for the season with a shoulder injury.
Losing Klefbom is a massive loss, and we knew we needed to get another defenseman. I'm excited that we got to Tyson Barrie an opportunity for him to come here.
Holland is excited about the veteran free agents, like Barrie, that he was able to sign with little cap space, including Kyle Turris and Dominic Cahoon, as well as re-signing Gaetan Haas and Joachim Nygaard, who now have NHL experience.
Certainly, I want the young people to push. I want the young people to push and that are in this organization. But we've got lots of veteran players. I'm hoping that we're going to have more competition for jobs, and it's going to push our team to to greater heights.
The Oilers will need to take step forwards because the All-Canadian division will be a tough one.
Nugent Hopkins trying to come back. Now they separate. They join again. Here's the left from Nugent Hopkins.
They'll play the Flames and Canucks 10 times each, 9 against the other 4 teams. Holland said it's playoff games every night.
We're going to have to get off to a good start. You don't want to get behind. The beautiful thing is if you do get behind, in terms of get off to a bad start, you're playing the same teams over and over again. So if you can put something together, you can start to make up some ground in a hurry.
Quinn Phillips, Global Sports.
2020 NBA championship. And just 72 days after the Los Angeles Lakers captured their 17th title in franchise history, the NBA returns tonight to tip off the 2021 season. The shortest offseason in North American pro sports history ends with Kevin Durant making his long-awaited debut with the Brooklyn Nets, facing his old team currently in the Golden State Warriors. It will also mark the first game behind the bench for Canadian basketball great Steve Nash. Tonight's doubleheader is capped off with the Battle of Los Angeles between the defending champs and the Clippers. As for the Raptors, they opened their season in their new home of Tampa Bay tomorrow night versus New Orleans. At least let's hope a new temporary home.
Yes. Gosh, you know, there's 100 different storylines we could talk about in the NBA, but I want to let people know how much you care about the World Junior Championship, that you're actually excited about Switzerland and Austria.
Look, it's been a long wait since the last hockey game I've watched, so I've been glued to the computer screen watching that exhibition game between the Swiss and the Austrians.
Well, your sports is done before the third period starts, so we'll talk with you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back. You're watching Chat News at 5. Recapping today's top stories, the snow that has been falling all day will come to an end this evening as the system pushes east. Strong northerly winds with gusts up to 80 kilometers an hour will blow into tonight before the winds become light. The roads and highways in and out of Medicine Hat remained open today during the storm. City crews are currently working to keep the roads and sidewalks clear. Municipal Works Manager Jeremy Patrician says city roads will be in good shape as we approach Christmas Eve on Thursday. The Christmas season got a little brighter for single Albertans today. The provincial government is making a change to their existing regulations that will allow anyone living alone to attend one event at someone else's home over the holidays. Premier Jason Kenney made the announcement this afternoon. He says the exemption will be in effect starting tomorrow and going until Monday, December 28th. For more on these and other stories, visit chatnewstoday.ca. Even with the slight lift in restrictions, this is still going to be a really tough week for many people as friends and families will be kept apart during the holidays. Here's Sue Lingo with some advice tonight on how to help you cope.
Rena Chiavelli usually hosts about 12 people at her house every Christmas. This year it will be just her daughter Ruby and another family member who lives alone, plus their dog Scout.
It will be less stressful in the sense that there'll be less to do and there's less busyness, which is kind of nice. But on the other hand, I'd say, I'm really going to be missing the people that we normally celebrate with.
For many, the 2020 holidays come with a sense of loss.
So many people have said things to me like, I feel like everything's being taken away, or, I just can't do what I feel my family needs.
Registered psychologist Kim Canal says the best thing we can do is rethink how the holidays should be.
So if we can just adjust our expectations, have them be a little more realistic, that's going to help us feel more calm and actually be able to enjoy this season.
Allow yourself to grieve your losses, then focus on what you do have and what you can control. Prioritize self-care, try to get more sleep, less screen time, and reach out to loved ones.
Our number one way of feeling better is connecting with people. We are biologically hardwired for connection.
And if you have a family member who can't understand why you can't visit, try to focus on the future.
What are the things you've always wanted to do as a family? And let's plan for that for next year already.
Rena has been meeting up with friends virtually and will order Christmas dinner this year.
I'm looking at it as a chance just to maybe start new traditions and do things on a closer level with my daughter.
It's also a chance for this single mom to teach her girl about gratitude.
There's a lot of people who are worse off than we are, and they have a lot less than we do.
All right, here in Medicine Hat, the winter storm warning has ended. It's gone. It's out of the way. Still some lingering scattered flurries tonight, but that will go away. The strong winds will go away, and tomorrow still a chill in the air. But as we get into Thursday and then Christmas Day, temperatures are going to warm up. The winds will subside. A little bit of wind in the morning, but some nicer days are coming after today's winter storm-filled day. If you're heading out on the roads tonight, please drive with care and caution, as there are still lots of snow and drifts out there to worry about. I'm Dan Reynish. Thank you for choosing Chat. We're back at noon and 5 o'clock tomorrow. Have a great night.